Much of Taking London is about lesser known people in the war effort, the pilots. You told their stories. You brought them to life. Why do we need to know about these guys too?
Well, the thing about the Battle of Britain is, it's kind of all about the pilots, but it's multi-layered. You've got Churchill at the highest level. You've got Air Marshal Dowding, kind of overseeing the actual battle itself. But then I think as an author too, if you just tell the story at that level, it's kind of dry and boring. So the pilots add a very human element to it. There are four different individuals that I focus on, and one is very young, one is a veteran, one is an American who's very wealthy who comes to fight for the British, and one is a would-be poet who becomes a Spitfire pilot. And all of them have a character arc, which is great. You don't want to just have everybody be one-dimensional. And they're interesting people. I mean, at the end of the day, I want to write about people that I like writing about, So, which is why I don't write very much about Hitler in this book. It's just nice to have some heroes.
Winston Churchill, of course, is a big character in Taking London, and of course also big character than his prime minister. When he took office, is it fair to say he wasn't respected? People thought, geez, Louise, this guy?
You know what? He was making a resurgence. If all that this had happened, let's say 1934, 1935, it would have come out of left field because he even called it his political wilderness. There was a period from about 1928, 1929. He lost all his money in the stock market, and so he had to, friends kind of had to bail him out and get him back on his feet. But he remained in Parliament throughout the whole time. But he went through this period where he went from sitting in the very front row as a member, as Lord of the Admiralty, to sitting in the back benches because he didn't have a voice. And Britain at the time was very, very eager to just be a peaceful nation. They didn't think that they could survive another war like the First World War, which was supposed to be the war to end all wars. And he kept telling everybody there's a war coming, and nobody wanted to listen to him. So right about 1935, 1936, when the Nazis really start militarizing, all of a sudden everybody realizes this is for real, and Churchill starts making his comeback, which, up until May 10th, 1940, when he becomes prime minister, that's the arc of Churchill at that time, from kind of let's just say loser, flat out loser, to the most powerful man in Great Britain.
Was he the only leader who could have succeeded as Britain did?
I think so. And it's because, remember, he'd been in Parliament for a long time, and he was first elected, 30 years earlier. So you have to know how to work the system, but at the same time, he was a great reader, he was a great thinker, he was a great believer in good versus evil, and he did a really great job of not backing down. There were a number of people in British leadership who basically said, let's make peace with Hitler, which would have brought the Nazis in. We would have had Nazi troops marching through downtown London. It would have been crazy. So he was the only one with the resolve to say, we're not going to do that.